Hi, Kali.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I love that we're here today. I get so excited
So
to
excited.
to share the stories for my honeys coming out of all my containers. And feminine magic and money in particular is just such a beautiful experience. And there's so much that happens that like you absolutely just cannot predict coming into it. And one of the things I love about it the most is like everyone who comes in is just like, okay, yum. Like I'm hearing all these testimonials. I'm liking that we're going to be doing witch shit and just all this cool stuff. But like I kind of have no idea what's going to happen, even though kind of I know what I want. So I love these like full circle moments where we get to share your story and obviously your work with the world because you have multiple businesses that I want everyone to hear about also. So just thank you so much for taking the time to come onto the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. Okay. So Callie, I've actually known. It's so funny. I remember we went to breath work together.
Mm.
I think it was either the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2020. And I had just started my business, which is
Yeah,
just so
same. I
crazy.
had just started mine too. We were
And
like,
you, yeah, and you had just started yours. And it's just wild to see how much can change in such a short amount of time. But before we kind of get into Callie's journey, so Callie is a graphic and web designer. She actually designed my first website and just does like such beautiful work. And I know I have so many entrepreneurs in my audience, obviously. So Callie's links are going to be in the show notes below. So please go check her out. She does like really beautiful, clean web graphic and just overall brand design and development. And then you have a couple other businesses too. Do you want to share about those?
yeah. So I started a crystal business, Divine Souls. And that one was kind of started just out of like a hobby, but we handcraft bracelets, necklaces, all crystals, everything's done in our home. And that's become like pretty, like I would say for like a little e-commerce store, pretty successful. We have very great like cult following, so we have like
Mm-hmm.
repeat customers. So there's that one, and then I started a drop shipping athleisure store, Cheeks. So that
So
one,
fun.
yeah.
Multi-passionate. Yum.
Yes.
So, Callie, so that everyone get to know you a little bit, could you share your sun, moon, and rising, and then also kind of just where you were at on your journey, with business, relationship, money, life, all the vibes, kind of like when you came my way and wanted to jump into FMM.
Yeah. Okay. So my sun and moon, I don't know why I don't know my rising, but my sun
You
and moon is
don't?
Virgo Libra. Yeah, I always forget it. It's so weird. It's like for some, but I think because it doesn't like, I don't know. I find it one of those things that I always forget to where I'm like, okay, guess it just doesn't resonate with me.
I mean, that's possibly a vibe.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, it's not there. But yeah, I'm a Virgo Libra, and I'm very much a Virgo, I feel like, in the sense of how I like organize my thoughts, but I'm definitely very like creative, and I like to move slow um and just like be in the vibe. I feel like over the past year before I jumped into FMM, when I came back from living abroad in Bali, I was like very in this kind of like more like the masculine energy, but just like didn't have any consistency, almost like with anything, like would have peaks, and do like really well in business or get like really excited about something, but that would go away in like 2 months. And then I feel like when I was looking for like, because I've always been in your world, you know what I mean? Like I remember when we met and I first started my business, you had helped me along like that first path. And I gained so much consistency being in your world, but it was like I wasn't healed yet, I think, in like my just like in my, my money wounds. And so I was like, oh, okay, did so well. So I don't need any more help ever, which is what I think a lot of people kind of like that happens to them. Like they make money and they get scared to invest it back into themselves again. So I almost felt like during that year of like 2020, I couldn't like spend the money that I made because I never thought I would make it back. So I was just in this roller coaster, like within my business and life for like a few years like that. And then I think I just got fed up with it, honestly, last winter. And I just kept eyeing all your new programs. And of course, like I trust you. So I was just like, okay. I remember I was like, Jocelyn, what do you think I should do? And I remember you were like, no, don't do this one. I think you need to do FMM. And I was like, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Just getting more in that like feminine energy work. So yeah, so I feel like when I made that decision, it was like a windfall of clients and finances like opened up for me in March. Because I'm not even kidding. I feel like once I made the first initial investment, I had like a 20K March.
I love it.
It was so weird.
So good. And Kali's also my friend in real life too. So we
Yeah.
also like went and partied in Miami for
Oh
my
my God.
birthday.
Yeah. But like I look at that year and I like try to like explain to people too, like to make it realistic, like in my mindset was still on like, oh no, like there's always going to be slow months or like, because it was
Oh
still,
yeah, fuck that.
which is
Yeah.
not true. And like, I learned so much, like that does not have to be the truth. And that's like not the truth. But I think I made it up in my mind, like November, December, January, and February, I literally was like making no money. Like I just had like kind of retainer clients. And I was going through a transition of like moving to Minneapolis. It's so cold, I was like in a really like different state. But I think it's just like one of those things where I was just like, no, like this is not the truth. Like I've done so much work and like, let's invest in something that's going to like, break down those barriers even further. And yeah, and I've been like super consistent ever since. But like Miami was so fun and bougie and I loved it so much.
I know. I remember we were literally both. So you were coming from Minneapolis and I was obviously coming from cold ass New York, which was still cold. Even my birthday's April 1st. And you were like signing clients on the plane and texting me and like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. I was like, I just made $3,000 just doing nothing.
It was so good. But I love what you said. This is so typical. So typical, especially for early entrepreneurs to invest once, do well, and then be like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, that's fantasy land. The reason that you see all these women who are making tons and tons of money keep telling you to stay invested, stay committed. It's like, because it's an evolution over time. And if you stop, it's not even from a place of scarcity. It's just the truth. If you stop, your results are going to plateau. You're going to slow down because you don't have a space to go when sticky things come up, because they are going to.
Yeah.
And you don't have that like continued activation and acceleration and someone helping open you up into more. It's sort of like telling the universe, like, oh, I'm going to stay right here. I was going forward, but like, just kidding. I'm done now. And then every time someone does that, I've never seen it any other way. They start to plateau or slip. And I'm like, this is just, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be wildly successful and you want to have sustainable results in all pieces of your life, you've got to like stay invested in aligned spaces and keep like leaning into that edge where you're like, oh, I made money. Not because the usual story is, oh, I'm going to make more money and then I'm going to invest again. I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's like not how it plays out in real life.
And I think that like when I was in Bali, like that was almost like my mindset where I was just like, yeah, okay, like I did well and like I'll just like invest again, but I just never did and kept putting it off. And then it was like, and then I was like so confused, I think, with like, because I went from having my business be my name and then being like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like I need it to be like an extension of me, to then rebranding it to something else, which that helped immensely. Because then I wasn't like so identity tied to things,
Yeah.
And then but then it was like, really, I was like looking at the people around me too. And, like there's a ton of coaches in Bali, but it was like, the mindset there, because everything is so like affordable, especially during that time of COVID, like nobody was really like doing that, like investing and staying invested, and everyone wants like this quick fix to something. And it's like, things can happen fast, which is what you talk about all the time, like things can happen fast, but it's like, if you're not, I feel like for me, I learned if I'm not showing up every day and like doing something or doing work and like putting like right my money where my mouth is, where it's like, okay, I want to have all this high level stuff and I want to like have community, because that was a big thing too, like moving to a state where I didn't know anybody again, and also like the Midwest being a little bit different, like people aren't as open, they have their friends, versus like in New York, everyone's like a little bit more open. Or if you're traveling, like I didn't really have any friends here. So I was like, well, I want community. So like, why not join a program where I can get community, like have like constant help, and it be more long-term, like nothing that's like 60s, but like that's what I liked about it. It was 5 months of like, a ton of shit that we
I know, it's like so many things.
I'm like, it's like literally half a year. And I'm like, and just knowing that I had I could send a voice note if I was like spazzing out about something, and like anybody in that group could peel me out of it, like
Totally.
that was just like, you just feel safer that way too. And
It's
obviously
so
like,
much better.
yeah, entrepreneurship is like, it's like, you just, it can be like lonely sometimes. And I hear that from a lot of people, because you're like working by yourself. So it's like, I feel like it's always good. And I really encourage people to just keep going and like the next part, whatever like feels good for them too.
Totally. And another thing, because I feel like you kind of had learned this lesson too, I'm always saying like you get what you pay for. And you had like joined something that was like smaller and money oriented, but I don't know, like a very low investment level. And you're like, I didn't really see any shifts. And I'm not saying that like low investment level means no transformation, but it's like realistically, we cannot spend like $80 a month, whatever it is, and have you expect to radically change your relationship to money, life, manifestation, all of it. Like it's just not really how it works. And I really believe, I've always been like a high level investor in myself, like hint, hint, that's so much of what's behind my rapid growth, and it's like there is this thing about you get what you pay for. True. Like when we go into kind of these like lower cost memberships and things like that, those are more for like awareness and to open your eyes and to give you a few tools. But I'm talking about like deep, deep change. It's very different.
Totally. Yeah. I did 3 like low cost, investments that literally I gained nothing from. And one of them I just was like, yeah, guys, like, I don't even know what's like happening here.
You're like, this is not landing.
And they were like, yeah, no problem. Here's your money back. And that like solidified it. I was like what? And that's why I feel like you do have to be like very careful and ask questions, especially with like, because like some people are like really like wounded or whatever, and they're just, they're like, okay, I can afford this, but like the stuff that's being taught in some of these, different like modules or whatever, it's just like, pick up like a book, YouTube it, because it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I'm just like, just give me everything, and like, obviously I have master classes and, Money Queens, my self-led abundance course, but even, my lowest cost, quote unquote, program is still 555 and it's set up for big wins, etc. But 5 months together is a totally different experience. And having that like consistent everyday access, having like the content portal, all the work we do, the guest experts, like we really traverse you through like every layer. And of course, like, our healing is an evolution over a lifetime, as is our mastery of manifestation. But there's so much that can happen inside 5 months because we're just going really deep and it's very consistent.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear, let's start with your money journey, because I feel like one of the big things you came to me with, which you've mentioned, was like, okay, my income is roller coaster. This is not the fucking vibe. I really want to clean this up. So kind of what are you experiencing now? And how did this really shift for you kind of just around money and business in FMM. And for anyone who doesn't know, we don't do actual business coaching in Feminine Magic and Money. FMM's all like the inside game, manifestation, energetics, quantum healing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Kali was already feeling solid on that front and just needed like the inside job.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying like my money trauma or whatever, like went back to like childhood, and obviously like lifetimes, it's like generational. And I do really feel like I'm the one here to break that, at least on like my mother's side, because
Yeah.
like, if you look at the Filipino culture, it is like, based in poverty. So when I was like growing up, I always had jobs, but I always felt like money would fly out the door, or like people would ask me for money, or I'd have to like help pay for things, as like a kid. And then like I would feel like like I was always being like taken from me. And that was a big thing in FMM that like I needed to like unfold and uncover. Now, like going through it, I feel very less like, I don't feel stress about money ever, which is like huge, because that's all I would ever stress about. I'd be like, oh my God, am I going to be able to pay this bill? And am I going to be able to do this? And I would also like, I used to have these like really like super anxious about paying bills, even though it would be like something that I wanted. So like, for example, like if I put something on a credit card and like bought like a cute outfit, like I would be like apprehensive to pay that credit card. It was like such a weird, like, like mind game that I would have with myself. Whereas now, even like paying or, the $3,000 rent, I'm like, I love this apartment. Yes, I'm so happy to pay that rent. You know what I mean? It's like this, like such different switch that I have. But I mean, that was kind of like over these past 5 months, I would always like journal and focus on, I'm like, what is that? And like, why, where did that like really stem from? And obviously it was like that mother-daughter wound, and like and just from like generations, where it's like that whole dynamic of the Filipino side, you're really like kind of pushed to like give money back to family, give money back to family. And it was just like, oh wow, like I didn't realize how much that affected me through my whole adult life. And it was almost the reason why like I couldn't hold on to money, like I got myself in debt, like I just kind of like pushed it away. And then even in the first couple years of my business, it was like I was making money, but I was not holding on to it. Like I wasn't like holding on to it. It would just like come in and right back out. And I'd be like, where did it go? Like what?
Totally. And this is something we work on a lot. And this is something that a lot of people come into FMM to heal, is like not just expanding our receiving of money, but learning how to hold and grow money without constricting our investing or spending or flowing money. I like to call it flowing money, but in case someone doesn't know what I mean, this is huge. And it always goes back to like money trauma runs deep, And so for you, I mean, I literally remember having this conversation, and I think it might have come up in a session. I can't remember. It came up a few times, but around like, okay, well, are we afraid that someone's going to take it? So as soon as we make the money, it's always out the door, because then no one can ask for it or take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. And now I would have to literally say, and I was talking to a friend about this literally yesterday, and I was like, for like the first time, I feel so consistent. Like, you know what I mean? Like this whole summer, well, I would say like starting from March when this all started, so the whole summer up until now, like I have not stressed about like whether I'm going to have enough money to pay like rent, like carpet, whatever. And even like to be able to like pay for whatever I want. And so it was just like last summer, I was like getting off a plane from Asia, and I was like, okay, like I need to make like $5,000 to be able to like go to New York and then go visit my family. And then like July, I need to make like like I was so like crazy about like, if I can make this, then I can do this. If I can
which
make
is
it,
not overflow.
yeah,
Jesus.
it
Yeah.
was, yeah. And but that's like how I thought. And now I'm just like, okay, like this is what I want. So like I can have that. And like, and it was just like, the reality is like, I have a good business. I am like good at what I do, and like clients will flow, and like, what was great is like, I used to like overbook myself because I was, again, like so scared that clients wouldn't come in. And now I have like, right, like less clients, higher ticket clients, but like the same clients over a period of time where I've spread out payment. So like the whole summer, I was just able to like, just be in that like overflow state, and like transitioning to moving in with somebody, Jamie, and him transitioning into leaving like his really steady job, I knew that I was going to kind of like take, the brunt of like our expenses, which was fine because over the last year he was like doing it, over the winter when I wasn't making money, it was like this give and take. And we had finally decided to like combine our incomes, like combine credit cards. But I think I mentioned this in like one of our other calls in MMM, whatever, because I was in both, where I had said, I was like, oh, it feels like so like we're like pinned down Jamie's credit card, but like I kind of like hate giving him that money. And I was just like, oh shoot, that's like the wound, like the trauma wound, even though like it's like money that I spent too. I like didn't want to pay his credit card thinking he was like taking money from me, which wasn't true. And I literally moved through that in like an hour and I was fine. But yeah, I just feel
Totally.
like good about everything now.
And this is amazing because I feel like we can loop on this literally for life if we don't intentionally clean it up. It like doesn't just go away.
No.
It really doesn't. So I love this so much. So now your business is at, stabilized 5-figure months instead of like high months, low months, and kind of like all over the place.
Yes.
Yay. That's so exciting. And I love how the abundance has spread to Jamie. Jamie is like one of my favorite partners. I got to meet him and like spend so much time with him when we were in Miami for my birthday. And I just love that since that time, like he has started he's been so inspired by you and your journey and started his own business and is doing so well.
Yeah. Okay. This is my favorite thing ever because it just makes me so happy. So yeah. So like Jamie would be like, I'd be listening to replays or modules, whatever. And when you live with someone, like I do, it's like always like the husbands or the partners, whatever, they always like pretend they're not listening and they're like, oh, and they pick up little like tidbits of stuff. But Jamie had been at the same job for 6 years. And I feel like he was just so miserable. And I was like, trust me. I was like, if you leave and you go all in something, you're gonna just wait and see. You're gonna probably quadruple your income, like whatever you were making after taxes a month. It's gonna like be insane. Just watch. And it took him, he had to go through it on his own. Literally, he quits his job. He starts a landscaping business with his partner he has a partner in it. And then within like, I think it was like 3 weeks, he made $26,000.
I know. And I was like, yum, yum.
And he was like just shocked. And I was like, told you.
I know. And he's so cute. He's always like so invested in my work and like watches my Instagram stories.
Oh, yeah. He'll be like, Jocelyn said. Okay. But what was great? It was like watching him do it right the first time. Like he was like, he like did not cut corners. Like he set up his QuickBooks. He like filed an LLC. He literally got like branded hats made, like versus like when I started, I like didn't do that till like 4 months down the line.
Yeah, there's just more fear.
Yeah. And I think that allowed it too for him to just like, it was like, okay, I have all like the admin ducks in an order, and then it was like, okay, now we just focus on the work.
That masculine structure, baby. Gotta have it. Okay, so I love this. So then let's talk about I mean, obviously this healing your money stuff and seeing it actually translate into real world results is so much of what I'm here for. So obviously this makes me deeply happy and that you just feel good about, yes, it's like the money you make consistently and also that you feel good and loose and free and easy around money. This is huge because otherwise it's like consumes you every day.
Oh yeah.
It's not worth it. And then can we talk about your home manifestation? Because this was pretty wild too and really exciting.
Yes. So yeah, this was a huge thing. So we'll say like I have like bad credit. Of course, like over my whole 20s, you know, living in New York and putting everything in credit cards, not paying it, whatever. I'm working myself out of it, but it makes it very hard to get anything, right? Especially a luxury apartment. So when we were looking for apartments in Minneapolis, like I wanted to live in a luxury building. Like that was it. That's what I wanted. I wanted a pool. I wanted a 2-bedroom. I wanted it light. I wanted it airy, beautiful kitchen. We ended up finding a building that we loved. And I was like, yes, this is it. And then when we were going through the application process, the leasing agent was like, okay, well, because I have my own business, like things are a little bit different. I needed my accounting company to like send them information on like how much money I made, but I still did not have like the credit score there. And Jamie was about like it was a couple thousand. It wasn't much under what like the limit was of what you needed to make X times amount of rent.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, what if we don't get approved? Because I'd applied for a different apartment and I didn't get approved.
But
And
from the same company, right?
yeah, it
Haven't you
literally
applied
was
for two?
yeah, or no. This was the one actually that we were living in. So it was the same lease, the same management company. I had to apply to like be actually like living in that apartment. So they didn't like charge them and they like denied me. And we were like, what? I'm just still gonna live here. But it was really weird.
Oh, you mean
But
his old apartment?
yes,
Like when you moved in with him like before you
yeah,
got placed together. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But same management company, literally. They basically own all of the, it's like the management company and they build up and they basically own all of the apartments in Minneapolis and like suburbs. So I was just like, okay, this was right. Yeah, it was right when we started FMM. And I remember talking about it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to hold the vision. Like, I think like I kept hearing, I forget who said it, like stories of like people, I think you told a story about like somebody getting their dream apartment, whatever. And I just
Like
kept
despite
looking at,
all the odds.
yeah, I
And
was
same
like,
thing for homes. I had known someone else who, yeah, was looking to buy her first house and she was offering like less cash than someone else. And like it all worked out and she got it anyway. I have so many home stories. I'm like a home
yeah,
manifestation
yeah.
person, but keep
But
going.
yeah, but what was cool about it was like my leasing agent she was so sweet. And when we were emailing back and forth, I kept like telling her my concerns. I was like, I really want this apartment. I was like, this is it. Like, I'm obsessed. Like, we love it. The location was great. I was like, what can we do? And she like emails me back and she was like, we're going to manifest it for you. And I was like, what leasing agent? You know what I mean? Like, especially like the Midwest says that. And she went like above and beyond. And it was like, oh my God, okay, like, let's do it. So she really went above and beyond and we went back and forth with different documents. And it was like, probably we put the application in a week later, which was so weird. Like none of the information was different from the first time. Like I had applied to that management company, none of it. And then they just approved it. And she was like, you're approved. And I was like, what? And it was so weird. My credit score was actually worse than it was like the first time. And I was like, and I had come off of also thinking about like, because I think when I had applied the first time, it was like November. So I was showing like a lot of income. And then we're talking about applying, I would say like, yeah, like March, April, I can't remember when we applied. And I came off of like not being able to show any income November, December, January, February.
And they're like, you're approved.
They're like, sure, you're approved.
But doesn't this just show like the magnetism is real? And this is the
Yes.
part that cannot be explained. There is nothing logically on paper that is any different. Nothing. Same two people, same financial situation. And it's like, but when you turn on, like I always say, you get the feeling of like life rolls out the red carpet for you and things that just seem impossible or unbelievable happen. And like this is such a perfect example. It's literally the same management company that told you no a few months before over a lesser amount of money.
Yeah. And it's so like, I feel like in these like situations, like that was a big one. But like, I always see this happen, like when I want things to be easy, like for example, I like had, Rent the Runway, and I was like, okay, I gotta walk to the UPS store. And I was like, oh, I just wish, like, and Jamie was with me, and I said, I was like, oh, I just wish like UPS could just find me on the way there. And literally, like, we're walking and a UPS guy is just like right next to me. And I was like, oh my God.
You're like, hey, I called you in. Could you come over here?
I was like, look, Jamie, I told you. Manifesting.
I have stuff like that happen all the time.
Yeah.
A few months ago, I like did not want to walk to I was like, I don't even know where the post office is. Are you kidding me? And there was like some package, like I could not just put it in a little thing on the street, And I was like, I do not feel like doing this. And then this like truck just drives up right in front of me. I was like, oh, perfect. Hi, could you take this? Thank you.
Yeah. But I do think those are like the unexplainable but like fun things where it's like,
I love it.
Yeah. And it's been really fun to watch, like, living with someone and being a really great relationship. But like Jamie had always been like spiritual, but he never kind of understood like this side of it. So now he's just like, oh wow, okay. Like it's like these things happen. Like if you say you want something and you like really believe that you can have it, like it's just gonna like show up and it can be easy. Yeah.
This is the vibe. So what about inside your relationship? Because this is another, kind of like big area of your life. I know obviously you had already met Jamie and moved in with him before we started FMM, but I'd love to hear about, because especially earlier in the container, this was a bigger area of focus, just like that deepening inside this relationship and allowing yourself to have something and show up for something in a way that you'd never been able to in your prior partnerships.
Yeah. So this relationship is the the healthiest I've ever been in, like the most aligned. And it was so interesting, like how it came up, because all my relationships prior were like really emotionally abusive. Like they were just like that narcissistic empath, like very toxic relationship. I went through a lot of like alcohol and drug use through all of those relationships. Like when I came out of all of that, I was like exhausted.
Yeah.
It was like, okay. And I went through years of like trying to just heal from all of that and understand it. And then when I got back from Bali last June, fast forward to like August, I was here just visiting my aunt in the Minneapolis area. And I was just like, okay, I'm ready to meet someone. I definitely feel like that. And so when I was writing like a list of like, because you can write your manifestation list of like what the characteristics that you want in a guy, how you want them to show up for you. I actually wrote, and I think this was the game changer for me with meeting him, is I actually wrote like how I showed up in the relationship, because like I do feel like in the past I was like so insecure about things. Of course, like when you're with someone who's narcissistic, they make you feel that way. But I also felt like I needed to take like responsibility over myself too. So I just wrote how I would show up and how much of like a partnership would be like no anxiety, like really deep connection, blah, 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 whatever. And then all of a sudden he appeared and we moved like really fast, but it was like really right. And then I felt like, okay, like we're both adults. And yeah. And it was like kind of at the start of FMM, I was just like, are we like, if we're getting an apartment together, like, are we doing this for real? And this is a conversation like I would have never had with like, I lived with my ex for almost like 2-3 years and like never talked about like getting engaged, marriage, nothing. Like I was just like terrified. Like I wanted, like people, it was like that thing of like wanting to be like, oh, the cool chill girl, instead of just being like authentically who you are and just asking for what you want. And so I was just like, I'm just going to ask her what I want. And I was just like, yeah, I want to like I would always say I would never want to get married, but then when you meet a person that you want to marry, like you should tell them that you want to marry them. Like it's not to scare them away. And so that was kind of our conversation. I was like, I would really love to like get married and have my family there. Like my parents are getting older and like commit. Like, do you feel the same way. And it was, of course, well received, and so that just was like, okay. And then I think it made us feel both like very safe in the relationship to then get to that point of like, okay, yeah, we're going to move in together. We're going to like plan for our futures, like mix our finances, like everything is an us conversation, not like I'm going to do this, and it's just like, it's more fun that way now.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so what kind of, because our relationships to men, our relationships to our voice, our relationships, I always teach about money as a masculine energy. At like these concepts and what we all go through inside these experiences come up in FMM so often. And I've seen, multiple engagements, multiple meeting the one, like so many relationships develop over, the courses of, the various rounds of the container. And it's so interesting to me. And I was just wondering from your perspective, kind of like what about the work has helped you bring that deeper intimacy? And it was already a healthy relationship. We're not talking about turning toxic into healthy. That's not happening, right? But like to just bring that additional level of closeness, what has like supported you inside the container and just like finding your voice and your safety within yourself that way to be able to bring it to another person?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just like a lot of the modules and a lot of like even something simple as like the breast massages, you know what I mean? Like things that you wouldn't think, like having like intimacy with yourself, like,
It's huge.
yeah, like the like what is it, like some of Elise's like breath works and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff I started to like do, early on when we jumped in there. But it was like, no, like feeling like safe within my own body, and like, because I feel like before, and this is why I wanted to do this program, like a lot of like the witchy stuff and like all of that, because it was like for a while I wasn't, like I feel like I wasn't like connecting with my own self. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when we can't do that, it's like so hard, to like do that with a partner. And honestly, I feel like I was just kind of like disassociating a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
like intimately. And so, yeah, so like things like being able to like be home by myself and be like, okay, like let's do like this meditation or this breath work, and then like, and journal like whatever's happening out, like why are you disassociating? And a lot of stuff that came up was just like old, like just being like scared, it's like you're like little inner child like being scared of like being able to like, be honest and talk to somebody. But that was like, I feel like huge, like that helped me a lot to just trust myself and like my own intuition more, because, and I do think like this also brings up the thing of like sex, like, or like I feel like this happens to all women, like in your early 20s or teens, whenever you start having sex, like we just like, I feel like people don't know how to say no. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you just like you meet someone and then like you have sex with them, and then even if like you don't want to, you just kind of go through the motions and you just do.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and even if it's not sex, it's like there's just somewhere along the way things are happening that are not a full fuck yes. That's for
Right.
sure.
Right. And even I feel like when you're with like a partner or somebody, even if you're in a relationship, like you can still say no if you don't want something,
Yeah.
and it's not like you're denying that other person, but I feel like there was a lot of that kind of like taught me as well,
Of
which
just
was
these
like really
boundaries.
yeah, well, yeah, that's the biggest thing too, boundaries. Because I do feel like I even lacked like I feel like I'm just like a natural people pleaser sometimes. And I feel like I put like others before myself a lot. And this program taught me like boundaries, even to the sense of being like, I do not have to answer that email like right away. I'm allowed to wake up and go on a walk and have a cup of coffee and like relax and start work when I want to start work,
Literally.
without like compromising like a client relationship. And I also learned the other thing with this too is like, being able to communicate with a partner, but being able to honestly communicate with like a client. I used to be so afraid to even like simply tell a client that like, that like I'm not done with something, I need a few more extra days, whatever. And it's like not a big deal, but I used to be so scared that like I was going to be abandoned by a client, or like someone's going to yell at me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and I don't feel that way anymore. And I just give myself more time to like relax. So
Yeah, I feel like that was something because it's just these like interpersonal relationships. They very much, I mean, we're in these people-based businesses. This is what we do is interact with people literally all day, you know?
yeah,
And so when we're not feeling really certain within self, really sound within self, really clear on our boundaries, clear on our standards, basically being the queen, it gets very sticky and it starts to feel very uncomfortable. And there's a lot of fear around like, oh my God, if I do this, then something bad's going to happen. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves self-abandoning, self-abandoning, self-abandoning till you're practically on the floor.
yeah. And I used to do that. Like I remember, what was it like 2 years ago, whatever. I was in Bali and I just had like some really not like great clients at the time, but I also set no boundaries. And I was like working till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And I had
Wow.
a full panic attack. And I was just like, what am I doing? It was just like, but I didn't have any like tools at the time. I was just like, no, I'm just going to keep working and let me just get it done instead of like having boundaries and being like, no, this is out of scope of work. No, this is what's going to, it's going to take a little longer. No, I was just like, no, I got to like work till 3 a.m. And I literally like, I remember it was like February 2021. Yeah. And I like shocked my whole system. Like I got like sick and I was just like, shit, I don't want to do this anymore. So now it's just like, that's honestly like how I really feel now. Like Jamie was even saying this to me in the car. He was like, from where you were at, like even the work, because I had clients, like a lot of clients last August, but I had one client who like, again, like I didn't set good boundaries with. And he was like, just seeing the difference of how you like have up leveled from just that time to now, a year later, of how like even just your business and the way you work. He was like, it's insane, like how different it is,
Yay.
which is so good. That's why I just feel like I don't like think like bad things are going to happen to me anymore. I'm just like, everything will get done when it gets done.
Yeah. And it's like, and also I'm sure too, you now do a better job of setting expectations up front because
Yes.
unfortunately, when we people please, nobody wins. When there's no boundaries, nobody wins. When there's no clear
Mhm.
communication, nobody wins. You're annoyed, the client's annoyed.
Yep.
But like if we made our clear up front, right? Because we're not doing people pleasing, we're literally running a business and being a CEO, then like everybody's so much happier
Yeah.
because
And
everyone
yeah.
knows like what is happening.
Yeah. And my work is so much better too. Like just designing feels just like easier for each client. It's like not as, yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, we nailed it. First try. All right, let's go.
Because you
And
have all of this energy and space back. And like good luck being creative coming from an empty cup.
oh my God, never. Yeah.
This is so beautiful. So, what were your last couple questions? Kind of like your favorite, it doesn't have to be like a certain session or something like that, but just kind of like what was most beneficial for you around being inside the mastermind?
I feel like it was just like knowing that I had like a support, like of course I was able to go through like the modules and like even if like I feel like when I wouldn't be able to get on a live call, I experienced no anxiety because even like being able to do it on a replay, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a
Totally.
big
And
deal.
it's like
But
5 months. You're probably not going to make every call, you
yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah. But I also feel like the your recommended reading list and like there was one meditation that was like overnight. Like those
Oh,
were so
yeah. I
me because I
love that
love that
shit.
stuff.
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you. What did you
No,
say
no,
about
no.
it?
No, I'm saying like I loved that because like I'm big on like I because I'm like so visual too, like I like to like things stick in my brain more when I can read and like or like listen to things on Audible, but I love like overnight meditations. So I just felt like I was constantly surrounded by support. And I think that's something that I had always lacked, whether that was like working at a corporate in relationship, you know what I mean? So like, it was just like such a supportive community. And I also learned from all the other women too. It would be like, I would listen to a replay and like somebody would be talking about something and I'm like, oh, I feel exactly like that as well. And it's like, it didn't like, it probably wouldn't have come up for me had I like been on a live call, but then like I'm listening to a replay and I'm like, oh, okay, I've learned so much just from like, what they're asking too.
I mean, I love replays and having things going on in the background of your life. And like,
Yeah.
and also I always say in these mastermind environments, you get questions answered that you didn't know you have.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And then two, some of the healing that we do is very different than what most people have experienced. And, this is kind of what I call like the quantum healing vibes. And it can be kind of hard to explain because I would say everyone who comes into the container, whether, it's coming through myself or one of our guest experts, it's very much of like, channeled wisdom, medicine woman type vibes. And,
Mhm.
we're doing these witchy things and stuff like that. So how was that for you? Because I know you've kind of done a lot of other healing type things before this container as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, my favorite thing was spells.
Oh,
I
I
love
know the
the
spell
spells.
session is so good.
Now,
Everyone is like,
actually,
I want to
because
do spells.
yes, because this is also something, yeah, like I've done a lot of like very like deep spiritual work. Like I, practice Reiki on myself daily. I've done like, Cambo trips. I'm currently like microdosing mushrooms, like things like that,
Yeah.
whatever. But I've never actually like when we did spells, I was like so excited. I was like, I'm ready. And like now I have like my little like spell candles and I'll do like spell things by myself, but like that stuff works even if like people don't believe it and you're like placebo effect or whatever, like that works. And I remember like after that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do another spell thing. And you had talked about how like look at how like the candles burn down, right? Like if they burn down faster, one goes out, whatever.
Yeah.
I did spells on like repeat. I can't believe I didn't say this in like the Voxer chat. And I was sitting there and I had a green candle and I was like, wanted like money to move faster. But like my green candle blew out in like 3 seconds. And I was so annoyed. Was like, what is this? And I was like, hold on, let me tune in. And I remember I just wrote down like, it was like something where like I just got this download where I didn't need to like associate like money coming fast to me with like a physical object. Like my guides like wanted me to trust that like I have all this inner knowing and like I don't need to sit here and like I can do a spell if I want to, but like they wanted to show me like it's not about like this candle burning down fast, it's just about me like trusting. So the
Well, it's
spell
what they
stuff,
do is go
yeah,
ahead, sorry.
no, it's okay. I'm just saying the spell stuff was like so prominent for me.
I know, because I think what actually happens, well, one, it really deeply, I think one of the biggest, like, whoa, holy shit, people get out of it is like, lead this whole part about calling our guides forward and all the things. And everyone can really feel that moment.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck, like they really are here in a way that I was not tuned into before. And then what I really think happens, just like what you're explaining, is it open like the energy moves, you shift your own energy by bringing intention to what it is that you want in this very like, sacred way. And it allows you to open up for your guides to talk to you where you can actually hear and listen.
Yes, totally.
That's what I think actually ends up happening. And they always feel extremely charged. And it's also incredible because you're doing it with all these other people.
Oh yeah. Like I remember that session vividly. And I could just like when we opened it up, I remember I got chills. I could just feel it. And you're just like, oh wow, this is amazing.
Like this is real. And I feel like this is something you brought up along the way too. I can't remember what we had just done, but you were like, I have not felt this connected in so long, like to yourself, but then also just spiritually, like to your team, where we really have that strong sense of guidance that really just dissolves all this fear and like 3D drama we love to bring in. And I feel like
Totally.
one of the biggest things I hear coming out of this space is that like deeper psychic activation, connection to self, and just like much stronger sense of like intuition and ability to listen.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think one of the also the biggest things I learned is that like I I think there was like this there's like sometimes this misconception in like the spiritual realm or world or whatever we want to call it, where it's like you have to be like this one way. So you have to do everything like by the spiritual book. You can't drink, you can't do that.
Oh
You know what I mean?
God.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, this has allowed me to just like be human and like feel and do and play and have what I want, but being so connected to my own like source and spiritual energy. Like, I know when like there's moments where I'm just like, oh no, I like don't feel like I want, like I'm feeling like kind of like I don't want to drink like this weekend or like next week, and I don't want to put anything toxic in my body, so I'm just gonna chill. And then there are weekends where I just want to like go ham and like go dance my face off, and like be a human being and buy nice things or whatever. But I feel like before I never allowed myself, like I always felt like there was something wrong if I did that. And so I just feel really balanced in all areas of my life, which is great.
Oh, so exciting. I love this. So good. Thank you so much, Kali. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about FMM? Maybe for someone who's on the fence and hasn't made the move yet. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah. I mean, if you're on the fence and yeah, you haven't made the move yet, I would say first, like DM you like I did, because I feel like you give such good like guidance on where you can go. But I would say like follow that ping, like, and that's what I did. Like I sat on it for way too long, but ultimately, like I knew the timing was right. And I think just follow that ping. Like I don't think anyone would ever be disappointed in any program that they go in. But I think FMM is just really great program for women who just want to like almost like come back like home to themselves. So
Yeah.
like, yeah. So that's what I would say.
Because I did not always have this feeling, and now I do, which is why I launched it. And it's like living in a completely different reality.
Yeah. That's so great. I love it.
So good. Okay, Kali, how can everyone get in touch with you? Obviously, I know there's going to be so many business owners listening who are looking for help in this space, and you are so talented in your world. So, what is the best way to get in touch with you for like your different offerings in your design business? And obviously, I'll include those links and then for your other businesses as well.
Yeah. So for my design business, super easy. You can follow me on Instagram, at Annie and Arthur Studios, DM me, which is what most people do. Or you can go to my website, which will be linked, and you can just fill out a contact form. Yeah, super easy. I work with a lot of like female founded sustainable wellness brands now, super focused in on that.
I
And
love it. And like, who wouldn't want your vibes like in their brand creation? It's so important to like work with people that you really resonate with.
totally. Yes.
So good. Well, thank you so much, Kali. I really appreciate you having you having you on the show. And I cannot wait for everyone to hear your story.
Yay, thank you. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.